Hello, diversity and design students. Before we get into this week, I would just like to say that it was a pleasure to meet so many of you at the Shoreline Sweep on Saturday. While online work is efficient, I know, there is just nothing that can replace seeing you in person and working together. I think that we took on that site with great energy and will, and I want to thank you for making my weekend. Now on to this week's business. We are studying the 6th of 8 issues of diversity, and this one is physical ability and its relationship to design. Most of us know several people with permanent physical or sensory disabilities. Some are visible and some are not. Perhaps you have a sibling with low vision or a grandparent who has difficulty walking. And all of us have experienced physical disability of some sort, at least temporarily. Perhaps you sprained an ankle or couldn't hear after a too loud concert. It can be really frustrating to try to navigate environments that have been designed mostly for people without any physical disabilities. And those types of environments do not necessarily face the realities of our everyday world. In the United States, 53 million, or 1 out of every 5 adults, has a disability, according to a new study published by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The most common functional disability type is a mobility limitation, defined as serious difficulty walking or climbing stairs, reported by 1 in 8 adults, followed by disability in thinking and/or memory, independent living, vision, and self-care. In 2016, 6 million, or over 8% of U.S. children were identified as having a disability. But those statistics on the children do not separate out the physical and the cognitive disabilities. Designers of all sorts have big roles to play in terms of reconceptualizing the relationships between our designed environments and our abilities. We need to design for a wide range of abilities and anticipate consequences that are not necessarily in our typical spectrum of thinking. For that reason, it is important to have a diverse group participating in the process so that as many needs as possible can be embraced. Designers also need to think about the human body itself and how technology might be changing the very essence of what we think of as human. It is possible that with technologically induced body evolution, the concept of disability could disappear altogether. Now, the ethical and design challenges around this emerging area are enormous, and we need to seriously contemplate the consequences of our actions before we move forward. The materials for this week look somewhat daunting, but don't worry, they are not. Instead, I think that they provide you with a rich constellation of the past, present, and future ways of considering physical disability in relation to design. We'll start with a PowerPoint that provides an overview and introduces you to the principles of universal design. Then we'll travel to an online exhibit from the Smithsonian that uses objects, photographs, and other ephemera to trace the history and attitudes about disability in the U.S. Subsequently, you will read an excellent summary on the history of disability rights in the United States. Our focus then moves to the present and the future. You will read a very short piece from the New York Times about an inexpensive, three-dimensionally printed prosthetic hand for kids that looks like a superhero's hand. The other kids in school want those hands too. We will watch a short talk by Elise Roy, a disability rights lawyer and design thinker who contends that her disability, which she is legally deaf, actually helps her to think about new ways to design. Then we will watch a video featuring Hugh Hare, who lost both legs in a climbing accident 30 years ago. Now, as the head of the MIT Media Lab's biomechatronics group, he shows technology that can change lives for those with physical disabilities. Then we'll view a film trailer for an excellent documentary that features a series of interviews with disability advocates, artists, and researchers with provocative ideas of what it means to be or potentially be fixed by advances in technology. And then finally, we'll view a short video on the artist Stelarc that I often show Stelarc videos in my courses. Stelarc is probably the best known body augmentation artist, and as bizarre as he does ask potent questions about the boundaries and possibilities of the human body. From my point of view, Stelarc intellectualizes his art better than most artists in this genre, despite his ultra creepy laugh. You won't forget that laugh. You will then, as usual, take your quiz and participate in our weekly discussion group. Now, this week's discussion asks you to do a bit of pictorial compare and contrast regarding the principles of universal design, and it also considers the Design a Baby survey that you took a few weeks ago in relation to the videos for the week. Then you might want to take a look at the Something Interesting category, and there are a few, I would say, quite interesting pieces there, especially the one with Amy Mullins and her 12 pairs of prosthetic legs, some which are artistically beautiful, others which are completely functional, others which are aesthetic, but don't really function at all. And then I have a few logistical issues for you. We are still waiting for the advertising company to make those final selections for the billboard. And then we're going to be moving forward, so you might get a very quick turnaround time on me in terms of some PR if you are one of the finalists. And then I apologize, but Project 1 is taking longer than we thought in terms of the grading. We just have a few left, and we are doing our best to finish them up as soon as possible. And then finally, there is a discussion board for your questions about Project 2. And I'd like you to post your questions there so that other students can benefit from the responses that we give you. Okay, enjoy your week and breathe in this crisp spring air every day. Bye-bye.